Hello, beginner violins. Today I'm going to help you get started by reviewing the things that we talk about in our very first lesson together and give you some helpful tips for practicing during your first few weeks. Well, this is a violin. When you opened up your case, you notice that you have a couple of parts that came with it. The first is you have your violin, of course. Secondly, inside of your case, you had your bow. You had a shoulder rest. That's what this black thing is called. And then you have a secret compartment in your case, which you had a yellow, strange-looking box. This is the rosin that you will use for your bow. And you may have also had a cleaning cloth. Okay, so let's talk about how we set up our violin first. Number one, the shoulder rest. Now, if you turn your violin over on your lap, the shoulder rest has these little claws here. And what we want to do is we want to slide it on so that it's on either side of your violin. Now, this is a silly way to remember it, but if you turn your violin upside down, as it's coming to your face, it smiles because it's happy to be practiced. If you put it on backwards, it will be upset that you're going to practice it. So we're going to turn ours away so it's happy. So as we put our shoulder rest on, you can kind of push it up so that it's nice and snug. So that is really just how we get started by setting up our violin. There's not much more to it. So let's talk about some parts. The top is called the scroll. Then you have these tuning pegs. Now I want to warn you, these tuning pegs we're not going to touch for a little while. Unless you have a parent or guardian or an older brother or sister that know how to play a string instrument already, we're going to leave these alone. We have 4 strings, and then under the strings we have a black board. This black board is called the fingerboard. We have a yellowish, whitish looking item here. This is called the bridge. It holds our strings up. We have a tailpiece. This part here is called the chin rest. And as we talked before, this is called the shoulder rest. So before we put it up on our shoulder, I'd like you to lay your violin down on your lap so that the scroll is facing towards your left hand. So if you lay your violin down and we pluck our strings, the string closest to you is the lowest sounding string. That's called the G string. The next one is called the D string. Then we have the A string. And then we have the tiny one at the top, the E string. If you take a look at them, the E string is the one farthest away from your body. It is the skinniest looking string. The G string, the one closest to you, that's a thick sounding or a thick looking string. So the violin, again, 4 strings. I always remember them this way. Good, G, dogs, D, always, A, eat. Good dogs always eat. So when we hold the violin, you're going to take your left hand and just put it on the shoulder on the left side. Now, we're going to spin our violin so that it's up top, and we're going to put it down on our shoulder, on the left shoulder. Everything's on the left side. Chin on the chin rest. Once you feel comfortable, if you have done it correctly, you can let go and you can see. Look how my violin is pointing all the way out to the left. Notice, it does not point to the front. all the way out to the left. So, my hand is on the shoulder. I'm going to take my right hand and I'm going to make a backwards L. I'm going to put my thumb on the side of the fingerboard, somewhere comfortable, and this is my plucking finger. So the string closest to the floor is the E. The one closest to my back shoulder is the G. So remember, from the bottom, good dogs always eat. Next, let's talk about the bow. When you have your bow, it might look broken when you get it out of the case. The hair might be wobbly. That's just because it's loose. So to tighten it, you have the screw on your bow. So you're going to turn it to the right until you see that hair start to tighten. Now I want to warn you, your stick, that's this thing here, should sort of point down. It should bend. If it bends up or it's straight, it's too tight. So we want to be able to get a pencil just through the hair there. So when it's tight, you may go to play it across your strings. Doesn't make any noise. That's where our rosin comes in. So we're going to take our rosin, and it's a simple process. We're just going to rub it. Now, rub it on the colored gel-looking substance, the wax-looking substance, not the wood. The wood is just a vessel to contain it. So we're just going to rub. You can do short strokes. You can do long strokes, whichever you like. When you have enough rosin on your bow and you pull it across your strings, it'll make the sound you need. Now, to hold your bow, this is where our right hand comes in. So our right hand does two things. It plucks and it holds the bow. So we're going to take our thumb, and there's a spot here. Turn it around so you can see. There's a little piece of wood between, this is the frog, and this is the grip. So between there's a little piece of wood. So we're going to make a thumbs down. We're going to put our thumb underneath the wood. And we're going to put our fingers on the very tippy top. Now, silly way to remember it. First finger goes in the pool. Second finger in the pool. Third finger in the pool. Pinky, too afraid to go in the pool, so the pinky stays on top. See what I can do with my bow? It's like a windshield wiper. See if you can do that when you have your hand on your bow, and keep the pinky on the top. Let me turn my bow around. That's what it looks like from the opposite side. And when you put the bow on the strings, you pull with your elbow straight. See that awful sound? That's what happens when the bow wiggles. So you're going to keep your elbow straight, and you're going to pull and push. Pull and push. So that is a very quick 10-minute tour on the beginning of how a violin works. Now, when you go into your book, make sure that you're paying attention to the notes on the staff. So I have my book here, and I'm looking at song number 2, down and ups. So this is a rest here. We'll talk about that later. But I want you to notice something. These are E's. These are A's. These are D's. These are G's. Look at how high they are on the staff. That's these lines. That's called the staff. So the higher it goes up the staff, the higher it sounds. The lower it goes, the lower it sounds. So you'll notice E, that's your highest sounding string. Look how high that is. A, it's a little bit lower than E, and it sounds lower than E. D, even lower than that. And G, the lowest of them all. So when you practice them, make sure that you're plucking and bowing the correct string. Well, I hope this has been helpful. I hope you have a wonderful first few weeks practicing, and I am very excited to see you in lessons. Don't forget, 10 minutes, 15 minutes per day is a wonderful way to get started. Play each of your songs slowly and steady so that you can get it just right. And I'll see you next week.